Does it look okay? Okay. Welcome to the LD4P second demo of our work cycle. Today's theme is plumbing. We have been working on getting our boxes up and being able to put our code on the boxes in a repeatable fashion and making future development work easy and just generally getting the plumbing right. So you see I have these two exciting terminal windows here. The gray one I am connecting to our actual VM, which was spun up by DevOps. Thank you, Aaron and company. So I'm here on this box, and I'm in a directory named after a Git repository we have. And basically this repository is, as you might imagine, all about converting MARC 21 to MARC XML. And for an extra bonus, we threw in the authority lookup in Symfony from an authority key to a URI. In the blue window, I am on my personal laptop. So here's the exciting part. So I'm here in a directory that has a Git repo, a bunch of code, some Java files, blah, blah, blah. And I'm using Capistrano. Take the code in this GitHub project and put it out on the VM shown in the gray window. So this is still a little bit of a work in progress, but Capistrano is a nifty tool we can use, and it is putting the latest code out there and then running a tool called Maven to compile the Java code and basically get it ready to be run in situ. You may have seen scrolling by quickly that part of the Maven build is to run our local unit tests for this code. So yay, they ran, no failures or errors. So this actually put this on the machine. Sorry, too many lines from Maven that likes to be very verbose. But we can see that it put it in this release directory. So today is the 22nd of February, and according to whatever the system time is on the machine, it is 2300 hours. So excuse me, if I switch to this machine, I am here. If I look in the revisions log, which is scrolling off my screen, you can see that the last deploy is the one I just did. And if we were to go in this directory, we would see that here's the code, and the Maven build went into this lovely and built these jars for us. So that is the progress we have made. I have been working mightily, and I must add unsuccessfully, on trying to get a little test script to run on the remote machine. Oh, maybe it'll work this time. So this says that it went out there and it ran this little thing. So let's actually see if we got our results. So where am I? So if I were looking where I happen to know where the output goes for this, I expect it in this directory and it's not there. So I still have a bug. But anyway, you get the idea. So I've done this for this step, and we're getting very close to having it to this state for the next step, which is taking the MARC XML, which this step creates, and converting it to RDF XML using the only converter we have our hands on as of yet, which is the Library of Congress's MARC to BibFrame 1 converter. And the notion of doing it this way is to set us up if we need to scale up and use a pipeline at any point in the future. So that is all I have to say about plumbing. I will now turn it over to Josh, and I should give a shout out to Darren Weber for helping set up these Maven builds and the basis for this code, and Josh as well for the Java code, and I believe Sandy Sklar also worked on the VMs. I am going to mute and let Josh talk.
Okay, I'm going to demo.
My bad. Try again.
Okay, I'm going to demo the progress made on the MARC II RDF validator suite. Am I sharing my screen?
You were, the font needs to be bigger though.
Okay, can I bump this up? There we go. Okay, so some more work during the sprint was done on the MARC II RDF validator. In keeping with our theme of plumbing, I guess, loosely, what I did was write some more tests and did them according to what hopefully will become a standard template that other people can copy and write new tests according to the same template form. So here we have a test that describes the creation of a BibFrame responsibility statement that's created as part of a BibFrame instance from the MARC 245 and 246 fields combined. And we have a MARC XML snippets that's turned into a BibFrame graph. Again, as Naomi mentioned, this is using the Library of Congress BibFrame 1 converter. Although the tests that are being written according to the Library of Congress BibFrame 2 specifications, so when we run these tests, we'll actually expect them to fail, and you'll see that here in a minute. But then, so we create the graph, then we do a series of expectations that are the tests that we're producing. So we expect it to produce a BibFrame instance, basically saying that that instance is not going to be empty. We expect it to produce a couple of strings here. One is the actual title of the thing, and the other is saying that it has a property that tells us that it is a responsibility statement. And it's going to run those tests off of this Sparkle query that's defined right here. So the way we run the test is via RSpec. And the test is under spec.
You can have a check.
R. You do it? Embiggen and make it bigger. Spec titles. And we're going to run the BF statement from 245 test. And we currently have a formatter that creates this display that does it in hopefully a human readable way, more human readable than what RSpec out of the box would produce. So here you can see that it's showing us the description of the overall test, the context of the first set, that it should produce a BibFrame instance, which it actually did, that it should produce a BibFrame responsibility statement, which it did not because it's using the wrong converter for the spec at this time. Then if it fails, it'll actually show you what the expected value is and what the failure is. We also wanted to expect that it would have a BibFrame responsibility property statement, which it did not, again, because it was using the wrong converter. And that was the end of this particular test. One other thing to mention is that we also put in the ability to have tags for these tests. So just now I just ran all the tests regardless of what tag it was, but all these tests are currently tagged with BibFrame 2. So going against that ontology, the idea being that we could write more tests, tag them with different ontologies, and then run specific tests against specific ontologies as we choose to do that. So the way we would do that is basically run the same test, give it a tag flag, and put BF2. And it should run basically it's going to run the same tests here because they're all tagged with BF2. So hopefully in the next sprint, we're going to be able to write more tests and more tests against the Library of Congress title specifications.